Hey everyone, welcome back to Niko's comic book hauls and reviews on the late night collectors community. I'm your host Niko, and today I'll be discussing and showing off the books that I ended up picking up throughout the month of February 2022. I'll be showing off the books and some of the contents inside and giving you my quick reviews and thoughts on the books that I did end up reading throughout the month or that I've read before. And also some of the things I am looking forward to reading for the first time. As always, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I try to put these videos out monthly for you guys. And make sure you check out some of the other comic content that we got here on the channel. Hit that like button and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified of when these videos come out. We come out with the weekly new issue weekly review show that me and my buddy Chris do here. That's also related to comics. That's called Comic Shop Talk. That's where we talk about single issue comics that come out weekly and give you our reviews and thoughts on them. And then I also put out these comic book hauls and reviews videos monthly here, where I show off all of the collected edition comic books that I put out. I'm currently in the process of actually also thinking of putting out some other extra stuff that's mainly focused on comic book art that I also collect somewhat, and maybe even doing a room tour sometime in the future. So make sure you subscribe, and if you have other friends that are interested in this kind of stuff, make sure you show them the channel. Please let people know. We do all kinds of comic content on here, as well as like trading card game stuff and other hobby stuff that is related to the interests of our hosts from the Late Night Chat Network. So thank you for tuning in. Once again, if you followed us over from the Late Night Chat Network here to our sister channel, the Late Night Collectors Community, thank you. All right, without further ado, though, let's get into the comic book haul for that month of February 2022. All right, first up, we're going to be talking about the books that I have read before or for the first time throughout the month of February 2022. And first up, we got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles IDW collection, volume 1 of the paperbacks. Now, they previously had come out with these same same cover, same spine, but it was in an oversized hardcover edition. I ended up picking up a few of those originally, and then I ended up selling them, getting rid of them, and ditching the line just because at the time it was a little pricey to keep up with it in that format. Somewhat regret it. I always have enjoyed the Ninja Turtles. I've really liked the modern series take on it that I had read of the IDW stuff when that started originally years ago, and I've continued to hear good things about it. And they even got that like Last Ronin series, that mini series that's going on outside of this main series recently, where Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird got back together to do it. So like I've always been a fan of the Turtles, and but for whatever reason, yeah, I stopped reading it in the oversized hardcover format. But then throughout the years, I've continued to hear good things about it. So then when I heard that they were going to start re-releasing it in these thick paperback format, basically the same amount of issues and everything that comes in the hardcovers and in the chronological reading order, for you, including all the one shots and miniseries and all that kind of stuff that the hardcovers collect as well. I was totally on board for that. I just hope IDW sees this line through, like they continue putting out a couple a year at least. I know they've sometimes ditched certain lines or editions before of certain collected editions, so I really hope they continue with this one because I would like to read the series. And although I've read the material already previously in this, I reread it again upon picking this up because it's been so long. I think they're already on like the 12th or 13th volume of the oversized hardcovers at this point, maybe even more. But yeah, that's why I kind of was I'm kind of hoping that they continue to put these out at a pretty good pace because I would like to catch up. Obviously, the hardcovers, I'm sure, are always going to be ahead of the paperbacks, but I really, really enjoyed revisiting this. I thought it was a really good start to the series. The art's pretty good throughout. A bunch of different artists involved in this, but I believe this collected the first 12 issues and then some of the one shots that they did. Um, yeah, the first 12 issues of the main series, plus the one shots of Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, and Splinter of the micro series one shots. So yeah, this is basically, like I stated, as everything that was collected in the hardcover, oversized hardcover volume 1 edition of this. But these are nice thick paperbacks, and I'm down with them if they continuing to release them like this because I really enjoyed revisiting this. And yeah, for all the future storyline things that I've heard that have occurred throughout this series, Sophie Campbell joining the team as the artist and writer of the series at one point. The new characters that they've brought on board, deaths or big storylines that have occurred. I've been hearing a lot of the stuff of the big storylines over the last few years that have got me really interested in checking this out again. So I can't wait. Maybe years before I get to that point if I continue to read it in this format. But I just hope IDW continues bringing them out this way because I missed the boat on the hardcovers, and I believe there's quite a few of them out of print at this point. So yeah, I'm glad I revisited it, and I hope they continue with this format. And if anybody's wondering, they retail at $39.99 US cover price for these. Totally worth it. All right. Next up, we have Snow Angels Volume 1. This was, I think, a Comixology original. Yeah, it was a Comixology original. So it was digital first, this series. I believe there's going to be a second volume that will finish out this series. I don't know if they're going, if it's going to be more than that. But yeah, this is by big name creators Jeff Lemire and artist Jock, and I really quite enjoyed this. I mean, I'm a huge Jeff Lemire fan, although I'm not like any writer. Not everything he does I'm a fan of. There's even been a couple things more recently that I didn't really dig on. I'm looking at you, Primordial, but yeah, this was quite good. And then when I looked it up, or when I had logged it, because I've actually been logging everything I've been reading for the first time this year as part of a challenge on Goodreads, which I've never done before. I just figured it'd be nice to actually keep track of everything I read for once. And basically it's the start of March. I'm already 60 books in, all graphic novels, so I'm pretty happy about that so far. But anyways, in regards to this book, when I logged this in, it had a lot of really bad reviews. And then I kind of looked off of Goodreads and was looking around, and I had heard another podcast previous to that I remember hearing that the person who was also a big Jeff Lemire fan didn't dig on this. So yeah, I don't know, man. I really liked this. I thought it was good. I mean, Jock's art isn't for everybody as well. I mean, I like Jock's art, and at its core, this story is a major theme of Jeff Lemire is that he has in a lot of his things, which is like there's like a father-daughter relationship type family aspect to this story, which he does very well, that he's done before. And it's basically they like live in this like this post-apocalyptic kind of ice world essentially. In this, like, it reminds me of the comic Ice World, or sorry, Winter World, I guess. I should say, the Chuck Dixon book. But yeah, it's a landscape where they all live in this like wintry landscape in the future, and like the whole world is ice, and they have to skate around to like get around. And they camp out in the cold, and there's wolves that they gotta avoid and try to kill to eat, and not get eaten by them. All they know of, they like pray to some sort of like a cold god of some sort. And they believe that there's like some sort of like lore as to why the world, or why they're in this position to begin with, but there's like a whole village of people that actually like live here. And there's like there's like a boogeyman aspect to it. There's a bad guy that comes and like kills a whole bunch of people that they only had heard rumors about up till this point in time. And yeah, everyone's on skates. So yeah, I don't know. I just really dug this. There's the bad guy right there. I just felt like it hit on some of the themes that Jeff Lemire does very well. I enjoy Jock as an artist. I thought it was intriguing. I thought it was interesting. It kind of kept me going throughout. So yeah, I quite enjoyed this. I'm happy to say. But again, I mean, maybe I'm in the wrong here, or the minority, because a lot of reviews I had seen about this were not very positive. I'm glad that they brought this out in print. I'm fine with these comic creators continuing to do stuff through Substack and digitally, all these digital formats and everything else, as long as they come out with a print edition that I can still check out their work, because there's a lot of good stuff coming out through those avenues now. And they've said that they can take it to any publisher they want, that they have relationships with, to send the print version out. And I'm sure they will, because it's kind of leaving money on the table if they don't, because not all comic readers read digitally, me being one of them, although I will read digitally if I have to. But if they continue to bring out these things in print, I'm gonna check them out. So, like I said, there's already a volume 2 solicited of this. I will be checking it out. I did like this first volume of Snow Angels. This was came out through Dark Horse Comics. This is the first volume. I will say, kind of a pricey price tag on this though. It's a $19.99 US cover price for a paperback, or I don't know, it might be like a 6-issue type thing. It's digital, although with the extras, it looks like it's only like 100 pages, so it's like equals out to almost like a 5-issue trade that you normally would get, and usually those run you anywhere from like $14.99 to $16.99 if it's Marvel. Even Dark Horse, I mean, by their standards, usually it's like a $15 trade. So the fact that this is a $20 trade, a little bit pricey, but I guess because of maybe the fact it's a Comixology original and the fact that you got big name creators on this, maybe they were able to charge a few extra bucks for it. Nonetheless, I enjoyed this, so check it out if you're a fan of Jeff Lemire. I think you should enjoy this as well, but maybe check out some of the other reviews as well on this book. All right, next up we got Serial. This is Cat and Mouse. This is the second volume. This is Terry Moore's newest series that he brought out. He keeps doing these like 10-issue little series that I've quite enjoyed. If you're not familiar with Terry Moore of Strangers in Paradise fame, he had another, I guess, long-running series after that, which is was Echo, and then Rachel Rising. Rachel Rising was really, really good. This girl was from Rachel Rising, and now she came out with her own little 10-issue series that's kind of focused on her. I think Zoe is her name. But I'm a fan of stuff that Terry Moore does. I just recently read Strangers in Paradise for the first time this past, I guess, year 2021. I read it. I had the collected edition, the omnibus paperbacks forever of it, but I never read it. I read everything else he had done. My girlfriend was a huge fan of his stuff too. When I got back into comics, she ended up picking it up and enjoying it, and then that got me into his stuff. And yeah, I mean, he's a really great cartoonist. I'll enjoy his stories. This one's being particularly great because this girl is like it's like basically like Hellspawn or something like that. She's somebody that's like possessed like this little girl's body essentially, and she's like she's very violent and but she is good in a sense that in this she is trying to take out another woman who is a serial killer that's running around killing people. So that's kind of been the main focus of this. But yeah, the other girl, she's always been known to kill people and be very violent, and coming out of Rachel Rising, another dark, violent book. I think in terms of the tone compared to some other Terry Moore's things, I've really enjoyed this little corner of his Terry Moore universe now that all the books are essentially connected as a result of the series that came previous to this. I think it was called 10 Years, where he basically acknowledged the fact that like finally like he's always hinted on it throughout some of his other stuff, but like everybody's kind of within all of his books, all the characters exist within the same universe essentially. So I gotta say this is probably my favorite corner of everything he has done of that universe is the Rachel Rising stuff, and by extension the stuff that went into this book called Serial. So yeah, I quite enjoyed this. It was pretty solid. I think they went into the direction that was a little bit predictable for this story, but there was still a couple of surprises along the way. Great cartooning as always. Big fan of him. All right. So next up, we got Not All Robots. And this is from AWA Upshot Publisher. I'm kind of new to checking out some of their books. You're going to see a couple of their books today, which is going to be the first pickups of mine from this publisher. So this is written by Mark Russell, art by Mike Deodato Jr., colors by Lee Lowridge, or is it letters? Yeah, colorist. Okay. So this is quite possibly the best thing Mark Russell has done since the Flintstones, and I really enjoy a lot of the stuff that Mark Russell does. He's a writer who is always on my radar, and I quite possibly could be forgetting things because I enjoy a good amount of his work, but he definitely has like a specific voice, the way that he kind of writes satire a lot in his things. Like he writes a lot of satirical type stuff that's based on some, real life things his social commentary on certain aspects of things going on in our lives, or bad things that could essentially happen to us. And this is the in the future where basically, AIs, robots have taken over. This is where the humans have given more and more over to the robots to run over the years, and they're living in a time where the humans don't even work because they've been found essentially useless, and robots do everything for them. But then as a result, people own robots, and there's this whole relationship that's like uncomfortable between humans and robots, and it eventually leads into the point where there's two different sides that are warring at war with one another, basically the humans and the robots, because the robots then have started to create an even better version of robots that are more human like within this story, and then they essentially feel useless. So all the robots that actually look like robots eventually are deemed not essential anymore by people, that robots that are so more well advanced now, because the humans made them, that they're now as useless as humans because these other robots that look like humans are more preferred than the older robots. So it's like, so there's all of that kind of stuff going on, and then there's also a lot of social commentary about the human race, and then also things that are good points about technology and the direction that we're going in currently that could lead to this type of a future. So again, just really great satirical social commentary on a bunch of interesting things, and really well written. I will say though, Mike Deodato Jr., I'm not a huge fan of Mike Deodato Jr.'s art. But this book is so good that it didn't bother me because it was still worth reading. But again, his stuff's not my favorite, but I can get past it. I can look past it. It's not so bad to the point where I can't read a book where he is the artist. So, yeah, this was definitely worth checking out. I would highly suggest checking it out if you're a fan of Mark Russell or just looking for something smart and interesting. And the greatest part I think about this AWA upshot from a lot of the releases I've seen so far has been the price tag. I mean, this is a $9.99 trade, US cover price. And yeah, again, I think this is like a 5 or 6 issue trade paperback. So for that price, that's well worth it. And this is a really great book. Yeah, I think this is 6 issues in this. So I hope that they continue with doing other miniseries. This say volume 1. I believe by the time this series ends in this trade paperback, there is going to be more. They might, even if they do it in a series of like miniseries or something like that. I'm definitely going to continue to check this out. This is highly recommended and really great. All right, then we got Stillwater. This is volume 2 from Image Comics, written by Chip Zdarsky, art by Ramon Perez, Mike Spicer on colors. And yeah, this is one of Chip Zdarsky's creator-owned series that he does through Image. I'm a huge fan of Chip Zdarsky's stuff, over the last few years that he's been writing, as well as I'm a huge fan of Ramon Perez's artwork. So for me, this was like a must check out book. And I mean, these guys are both Canadian as well. Love to support creators that I've met in person as well at the comic conventions, and really nice folks. But I got to say, I was reading this in issues though, and I just felt that it would read better in trade. So I actually switched over to the trades with this format. I believe the next 6 issues is going to end out the series from what I've been told. And so this collects issues 7 to 12, I believe. Yeah, 7 to 12. So I've read everything that's already contained in this in issues, but I ended up dropping it with issue 12 because the next arc that's going to be coming out in a few months is, from what I've been heard, is the last one. So this story is basically about a town where people can't die. Essentially, if you stay within the boundaries of this town for whatever reason, people aren't able to die. If they actually get killed, they will come back to life, or they'll get really messed up and then basically regenerate in a sense. And but it's caused a lot of weird issues between the people that live in the town, and like a weird, like, it's imprisoned them. They've become prisoners in their own homes essentially because they can't leave the county that they're living in, because if they do, then they can essentially run the risk of dying. And not only that, they don't want people to find out about their town's secret. So everyone's kind of like, you know, stuck there under kind of like the eye of the sheriff and all this other kind of shit that's going on and behind the scenes. So, and there's like, a lot of really messed up stuff happening in this town. I mean, it's all sounds all nice at first that, hey, guess what? We're immortal, but it's not so easy, right? It's easier said than done. And it causes a bunch of unique problems and, tension between a lot of the people that live here. And one of the main characters ends up passing through this town by accident and then finding out that he actually lived in this town and his mother got him out of there when he was very young somehow. But now he's back and he's trying to figure out, what the hell's going on in this place. So this has been a very interesting, intriguing story with great art, and I look forward to it concluding. Okay, next up we got Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal. This collects all 8 issues of this series from Garth Ennis and art by Goran Sudzuka, also from AWA Upshot. This one costs you a measly $14.99. That's for an 8-issue trade. I got to tell you, I mean, these are nice trade paperbacks for the value for how much you're paying. It's a great job for this publisher offering these trades for this price, by big name creators. I mean, the fact that, and this is probably, again, one of the best things I've read by Garth Ennis in some time. I always try to check out his books that he does, but unless it's something war related these days, and the fact that he kind of ends up being all over the place at different publishers and stuff and with different levels of talent, they're not always guaranteed hits, despite his, great career that he's had in comics and being one of my favorite writers ever. But this is a hit, man. This book, I hope he does more with this character. I hope this isn't the last we've seen of this character. I really, really enjoyed this book. I actually talked about this probably a few months back in one of my earlier hauls. I ended up picking up what I thought was the first trade, which is actually an issue that just collected the first 4 issues of this series. So, go back and check that out. If you're interested in what I had to say about it previously, look back in the playlist of the comic book hauls and reviews. But this is just a hell of a lot of fun, this book. As the title suggests, it's about a woman who, travels through time, fucking shit up, having fun, messing things up. And her sister is actually somebody who's supposed to track down these criminals that mess up and mess up time and and do things they're not supposed to in the time continuum. And basically most of the story revolves around her chasing her down through time. And then once they actually finally hook up, there's a whole new set of challenges that they have to face by the end of this book. And I think they're twin sisters, these two. But this girl right here and this one are 2 different characters. But it's just a hell of a lot of fun. The Goran Sudzuka art is awesome. I've always been a fan of Goran Sudzuka's work on other series that I've read him in. He did some of the Wonder Woman stuff with Cliff Chang for the New 52. I think he also did that Ghosted Image series. I've read a bunch of stuff where I've really enjoyed Goran Sudzuka's art, but looks great here. Really fun series, really well written. It's funny, it's got humor, it's got action, it's got great art. It's got, of course, as always with Garth Ennis, some religious themes that's that's going on throughout. It's got a picture of Donald Trump with a shit on his head. There you go. Yeah, it's just a really, really fun book. So I love this. This is like a 5 stars for me, and I hope we get more. But if not, I gotta say this is one of the best things I've read from Garth Ennis in some time, and I think he just hits it. It's got it, honestly, like the tone of action and religion and things and the art and everything. It's in the humor. I gotta say, it's like on the level of like his Preacher days, essentially. It isn't Preacher, but it is pretty good and similar in tone. So definitely check it out. Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal. And then we got Kang the Conqueror. This collects the 5-issue miniseries. Yeah, all 5 issues by Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly, and Carlos Magno on art. And this is the Kang the Conqueror miniseries through Marvel. This wasn't bad. I mean, this is basically what you'd come to expect from a Kang miniseries, I would say. He runs around trying to out Kang himself, different versions of Kang meeting up with one another and trying to outsmart themselves and outdo one another and become more superior than the other. And so yeah, it's a lot of pompous standing around and talking shit to himself throughout time. And it gets confusing at times and it gets weird at times. It's kind of what you would expect from a villain that's as awesome like as Kang, but like all kind of time travel type stories, the more you focus on it or trying to make sense of it, and unravels before your eyes and doesn't make any sense and becomes confusing and not fun. So you kind of got to go with it. There's really great art from Carlos Magno though. And it was pretty enjoyable. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't the best thing I've read. I think a few of the other things I've already talked about on this video were definitely better, but I did enjoy it. And if you like the character Kang, I think it is a nice, fun little quick read of a mini series and definitely worth checking out. So that's Kang the Conqueror from Marvel Comics. All right. This one, on the other hand, highly, 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 highly recommended. This was great. This is the current Moon Knight series that's going on right now through written by one of Marvel's newest star writers, I would say Jed McKay. I'm really enjoying a lot of stuff that Jed McKay has been working on lately. And art by Alessandro Cappuccio, color art by Rachel Rosenberg. I wasn't too familiar with this artist prior to this. And to be honest with you, when I started reading the book, I wasn't that into it. But about halfway through, once I kind of really got a knack for his style and a feel for it, I was like, yeah, I actually really like this art. I mean, really cool, really great take on the character. Kind of tries to encompass all versions of Moon Knight that have come before, because Moon Knight's unfortunately one of those tricky type of characters that every time you reintroduce him, because of his muddled past, he's kind of like Hawkman for DC in that sense. And the fact that there's been so many different versions of him, even, you know, even versions that he's created of himself, different personas, different aliases over the years. There's about 4 different people. There's the whole multiple personality aspect of him. There's the whole Fist of Khonshu thing. It really does. I think he did a great job of pretty much trying to address all of that stuff within this, while still kind of setting up an interesting title for Moon Knight for the current ongoing series. I think Jed McKay has done a great job. I really enjoyed this volume, I gotta say, and I'm looking forward to the next one. This collects the first 6 issues of the series. And basically, in this, Moon Knight opens up as like a mission, essentially, like a place where people can go for help in the neighborhood, and people come through and they bring him their problems that they're encountering within their lives that are usually supernatural related. So it kind of feels a little bit like the old Moon Knight series back in the day, if that Doug Munch and Bill Sienkiewicz run, I guess, was in the 80s, maybe late 70s, 80s. But yeah, basically it has that kind of whole supernatural aspect of it again, to the series that I think's been lacking in some of the previous incarnations of Moon Knight. While also kind of, and it also talks about him being one of the Fists of Khonshu. There is another Fist of Khonshu that they reference in here. There is another person that helps Khonshu, because there are 2 arms, 2 fists, essentially, right? You got to think of it that way, this gentleman here. And so, does he have allies now in his war against the supernatural and protecting Khonshu and everything else he does in this? There's a lot of interesting stuff happening in this current series and ideas that he sets up, and the art is really great. Anyways, yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed this. I think it's a great start to the ongoing Moon Knight series, with him having his show out soon. I highly recommend checking this out even for somebody who's new to Moon Knight. I think they did, like I said, did a great job addressing a lot of previous incarnations and aspects of the character in this. All right, and this is going to be the third and final trade paperback I ended up picking up this month from AWA Upshot. This is the Frank Cho written and drawn Fight Girls. Listen, I'm a big fan of Frank Cho's art. I do like his stuff. He does draw cheesecakey, very nice looking women. This is a book with a bunch of good looking women that are also fit, fighters, like MMA looking type women, running around in basically like a Hunger Games type of world where they basically got to compete for the throne and like I guess being I guess lording over like some people or being the queen to a king of some world. I forgot exactly. It's something like that. But yeah, basically these 10 women are competing in this thing where they get all transported to this world that's got like different levels to it, different challenges and different terrains with different animals and creatures that will attack them along the way. And the last woman standing basically at the end wins. So, as I mentioned, Frank Cho, like he's really good at drawing women and he's really good at drawing like dinosaurs and other types of creatures and stuff and such. And you get all of those things on display in this book. So he sticks to, since he is the writer and artist, things that he's good at drawing. And yeah, I mean, it's a very simple concept. It's a very light, easy read, and it's got great art in it. So I'm not going to say that this is anything new or anything that's going to blow your socks off in that sense. But if you're a fan of his great artwork, as I am, I think this is worth the pickup for that alone. And once again, this book is a $9.99 price tag. You can't go wrong. I mean, it's I think this is a 5-issue series. I want to say that it was originally, but again, it is a $9.99 paperback. You don't really see that. I mean, even in some of the introductory volumes of Image these days, they used to be $9.99, but you don't even really see that as much anymore through Image. Sometimes you do, but yeah, this was a fun read. I really liked it. I think again, I don't. It's not the best thing in the world, and when I looked at some of the reviews online of this book as well, I think it was also very middling in that sense. But this is kind of what I've come to expect from Frank Cho as a writer and artist. I'm here mostly for the art. Story was good too, but again, nothing groundbreaking or new, or he didn't revolutionize the the way comics are written, or add anything new in that sense. This isn't like a brilliant book. He's basically just taking a lot of tropes and themes that have been done previously in different media, movies and comics and books and all that, but still made for an enjoyable read. I really enjoyed this. And once again, I mean, if you want to talk about a light, breezy, easy read that's very surface level, you don't really get to know these characters, in a deep sense. But again, this is just a creative team where the writer is just throwing crazy ideas and fun stuff for the artist to draw. This is, of course, Bermuda, written by John Layman, art by the amazing Nick Bradshaw, who, if you take a look at his art, a lot of people will be quick to point out the fact that he was, clearly influenced by Art Adams. But in his own right is a really great artist and has his own style. But I think that's what everyone is quick to mention when they've seen Nick Bradshaw's art for the first time. The level of detail and pencil work that goes into his art and how much he's able to pack into each scene is just amazing. He's one of my favorite artists that does not do enough work. Quite honestly, he's been doing covers for a long time, hasn't been doing that much interiors. But this was I think this collected a 4-issue miniseries that they put out through IDW, and John Layman of Chew fame had wrote this. And again, like I said, it's very surface level, nothing too complicated about the plot or the story. Somebody gets stranded because of the Bermuda Triangle. His plane goes down. He ends up in this Bermuda place. Actually, the girl's name is Bermuda. This character here that we're focused on, who's basically lived there for as long as she can remember most of her life, basically becomes like a Tarzan-esque character. And they're on this, he crash lands and she tries to help him out. And there's another person, like a professor type character that was stranded there, that joins them on their journey, and they face off against some, I think, like merfolk people or something like that. And there's like, you know, creatures and pirates and all kinds of different things in this. Again, it's a showcase for Nick Bradshaw's amazing art, and man, is it amazing. So yeah, it's action, it's adventure, it's fun, it's great art, and it's not it's not a complicated story, and it's just a fun read. And again, I hope they do more in this world and do more miniseries. And from what I understand, again, they are going to continue doing stuff together. So I really hope that Nick Bradshaw sticks with it, because I think this is such a great vehicle for his artwork. And I hope they bring out a bigger hardcover oversized edition of this IDW. This like small thin trade paperback with a spine that's barely recognizable for this title did not do it for me. I mean, listen, I'll double dip and pick it up again if I have to, but please, if he puts out more issues, put out that deluxe oversized hardcover of this. It is deserving of that format, IDW. All right, then we got Batman the Detective, written by Tom Taylor, art by Andy Kubert. I read this in issues. I really enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying a lot of the things that Tom Taylor is putting out at DC these days. This was a nice 6-issue miniseries about Batman, being a detective, and this is him frolicking around Europe being a detective. I really enjoyed it. Adam Kubert's art on this. Sorry, it's Andy. Yeah, Andy. Sorry, Andy Kubert's art on this. I've really come to really enjoy his style, and I think he did a great older kind of like Dark Knight Returns, busted up, thick looking, short, stocky Batman in this. I really enjoyed his version of Batman. I really liked the story that was told in this miniseries. And yeah, it's a little bit different. He's not in Gotham in this, and he's fighting a villain that's somewhat unique to usually some of the people that he fights within the comics. It's not somebody that you normally would see in his rogues gallery. So, it was really great. I really enjoyed this, and I double dipped and picked up the hardcover. If they put out a deluxe version of this one day, I'll also pick up that, because I really enjoyed the art on this one. So yeah, Batman the Detective, check it out. And then we got Blade of the Immortal Deluxe Edition Volume 5. This is probably, maybe other than maybe the first deluxe edition that they came out with, my favorite volume of Blade of the Immortal. Um, I felt it was lacking the last couple of volumes, to be honest. The story went in some directions that I didn't care for as much, and the main focus had shifted from some of the characters that we've been following. But within this volume, everybody kind of came back together. There was a hell of a lot of action and great story beats that occurred in it, and I'm just reinvested once again in this story after like the last volume or two. It kind of it was a little bit not as great as it was when it started, I felt. So I'm glad that we're back on track in the storyline, for me being as enjoyable as it was when I first discovered it while reading these deluxe editions that they've brought out. So Blade of the Immortal deluxe editions, really been enjoying these, really looking forward to all the other volumes that they come out with through the Dark Horse line of them doing these deluxe editions. And I hope they eventually, once they complete Blade of the Immortal and Berserk, bring out more of these for other great manga that they've produced over the years. All right. Speaking of Mark Russell, earlier they brought out the Flintstones Deluxe Edition by him and Steve Pugh on art. This is again probably still to this day the best thing that Mark Russell has ever done. Believe it or not, he just did it through the lens of the Flintstones, essentially. But this is not the Flintstones that you grew up with on TV, everybody. But I mean, it is. But he's using them just as mouthpieces to talk about social, again, do his satire thing, talking about a lot of social commentary, from everything from politics to religion to everything else in between. And Steve Pugh did a great job with the art, And it's still to this day, I think, my favorite thing that Mark Russell has ever done. Really put him on my radar, really turned a lot of heads and got people kind of scratching their heads when they heard that this was a good book, because like all the other Hanna-Barbera books that came out with DC during that lineup of titles, this veered away from what you would have come to expect from a comic based on these characters the most out of everything that had come out at that time. So when you told people, hey, check out this Flintstones book, some of them are like, what? Flintstones book? Like, so yeah, but it is anything but in the tone. I really highly recommend it, guys. Honestly, this is one of my favorite things that come out over the past few years. Whenever this originally came out, I'm glad that they put out a deluxe edition of this. You can get away if you picked up the paperbacks owning those formats, but I actually I sold my paperbacks in order to get this one, because I felt like, even though I didn't need it because of the art in this particular case, despite Steve Pugh's art being great, I just think this is a book that's deserving of the deluxe format, because it is such a favorite of mine. So yeah, I was happy to pick this up and add to the library. And last but not least, we have the Madman Volume 2 of the Madmaniverse libraries through Dark Horse Comics. These oversized library-sized edition, which are bigger than omnibus format, basically like absolute size, through Dark Horse Comics. Basically my favorite format in comics. I love the Dark Horse books that came out like this for the library editions. I'm just going to take off the dust jacket here. Yeah, these are really nice hardcovers. And if you're a fan of that Michael Allred art, I mean, these are amazing to have. I'm reading Madman for the first time. If you're a fan of Michael Allred's art, you need to pick these up. I will say this volume was not as good as the first volume, in my opinion. Um, I also I think that Michael Allred is a better artist than he is a writer. That being said, because there was such a mishmash of kind of stories that were collected in this one, the quality was up and down throughout. There was actually also a lot of issues in this that were oversized issues that they put out that were more like jam like collections that had a bunch of different artists and writers takes on the character, like little short stories that they had written of Madman. So you didn't get it was interesting to see some of their takes on the character and their short stories, and some different artists work with the character and draw him, but it wasn't all Mike Allred in this one. And I also felt some of the stories weren't as good as the first volume. All that being said, though, I still did thoroughly enjoy this. I will pick up all the Madman library editions that they come out with. I think there's going to be about 5 volumes total that Mike Allred has been bringing out of these. Again, there is a pricey price tag, but I mean, this is like over 500 pages, I think, is in this volume. They are thick library edition hardcovers. There's $100 US price tag on this. So hopefully, if you can get it a bit cheaper, it is totally, totally worth it, especially if you're a Mike Allred fan, as I am. And the art just looks spectacular in this oversized format. And yeah, I mean, they're collecting it all in, like, I guess, a reading order that Allred put together, a chronological reading order of sorts that he felt, and it's collecting everything he's ever done with the Madman character, all the miniseries, some things unpublished or like out of print or never printed like in this format before. It's all the odds and ends and everything in between that he's worked on through all the different publishers he's done this book through. So Dark Horse is doing a great job putting these library editions out, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'll even show you, even on the French flaps, like the dust jacket, you got some art on the inside. Yeah, so that's really cool. It's basically dust jackets, just similar to the cover. So yeah, really cool. Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next one. All right, I'm going to end off actually with a couple of manga volumes that I actually also read, and we'll go into the few books that I've never read before that I picked up. This is Chainsaw Man Volume 9. Man, was this a crazy volume. Every time I don't think this book could get any crazier, they outdo themselves. That's all I'm going to say. I think at Volume 10, I heard they're going to be taking a break. They're going to be taking some time before the next volume. Anyways, that's all I got to say on this one. You got to read this. You got to check it out. One of the only shonen mangas that I actually pick up, Chainsaw Man. It's great. Great book. And you know what? I'm actually going to mention what is also collected on the in the Madman Volume 2. I didn't get a chance to mention it, but I think it's worth mentioning. It's collected Madman Comics 11 to 20. The Superman Madman Hullabaloo 1 to 3. That's the miniseries that he did with DC Comics where it's Superman and Madman. That's pretty cool. Then you get Nexus Meets Madman with art by Steve Rude, of course, of Nexus fame, as well as Mike Barron, who writes that series with Michael Allred. Then you got Madman the Jam 1 to 2. That's Michael Allred and Bernie Moreau. I guess the Jam is his character, and him and Allred wrote and drew those together. Then you got the Madman King Size Super Groovy Special. You got some short stories by Mike Allred in there, as well as Daniel Kroll, and then one by Nick Darrington, which is really old. That's an old one. He's not as polished as an artist back then as he was in this. Sorry, back then as he is now. So that was cool to see. Then you got one by Steve Weisman. Then you got the Who Killed Madman Oni Press Color Special. That's one, I guess, who was with Oni Press. That's a really good one. That's written by Brian Michael Bendis and line art by Michael Avon Oming. That was cool. Of course, you got the Powers team on that, who were also doing Powers at Oni at that time. Very funny. Madman All New Giant Size Super Ginchy Special with stuff by Mike Allred and Emmy Lennox and Matt Kent. And then you got Detour to Armenia from the Madman 20th Anniversary Monster and Exquisite Corpse, written by Jamie S. Rich, pencils by Jim Valentino, inks by Michael Allred, colors by Laura Allred. And then you got a bunch of covers from different amazing artists that have contributed art to the Madman comics over the years. Great edition. And then, as always, I'm not going to say anything I haven't said before about Golden Kamui, but volume 25 came out. Another great volume. And once again, it seems that we're coming closer and closer to the finish line. Things are amping up. And I always look forward to reading these. Great cast of characters and art, as always. History and action and adventure and humor. They kind of they juggle all the themes really, really well in this book. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the few books that I've never read before that I ended up picking up throughout the month of February 2022. I've read some of Full Metal Alchemist, but I've continued to pick up these hardcovers that they've been bringing out. I don't know how many volumes this is going to be all said and done. I don't even want to flip through it too much. I don't want to spoil some stuff for me, but I'm going to have to end up going back and rereading the first several volumes that I read of these editions, because it's been so long since I dropped off of it. But, I don't really have too much to add or say about Full Metal Alchemist, that I'm sure another person who's a huge fan of this property that has read and watched the anime, which I have not, can say on it. So I'm just going to say I'm very much looking forward to checking these out. And I'm very much looking forward to checking this out as well. This is the Doctor Strange Epic Collection, the Reality War. This is more of the Roger Stern stuff. He also got some Chris Claremont on here, Gene Colan on art. Tom Sutton, I think, is as well on that. Yeah, Tom Sutton, Marshall Rogers. This is volume 5 in the Epic Collections, collecting Doctor Strange 29 to 51, Man Thing 4, and material from Chamber of Chills 3 to 4, and Defenders 53 from 1978 to 1982. Yeah, I pick up all the epic lines of the Doctor Strange stuff. It's really great. He is one of my favorite characters. This is apparently a really good era, and I'm looking forward to checking this out for the first time whenever I do get around to it. This is just one of those things where one of these days I'm just going to be on full on epic mode for all the things I pick up, because I don't really take enough time to read the epics that I do collect. Just certain eras and things that I've done my research on that I know that I want to check out, I'll pick up in this format. And the nice thing about these as well is, I got to say, when it comes to taking vacation, if you want to take books with you, the epic format is a great way to travel, because like these are really thick paperbacks that are always a few hundred pages. You can take a couple of these and have plenty of reading for your vacation time. So without having to lug around like a big omnibus or something with you. So yeah, these are really great. That's actually the last time I read some epics was when I went on vacation 2 years ago, pre-COVID. So there you have it, Doctor Strange Epic Collection. And these are, again, these thick paperbacks that I'm always collecting. I've yet to dig into. Batman the Cape Crusader Volume 6, Alan Grant, Doug Munch, Jim Aparo on art. And this one collects. This is Batman 475 to 483 and Detective Comics 642. Again, this is just, collecting a lot of the post-crisis Batman stuff that has been not collected in these formats before, a lot of it. Excuse me. And I've just really been enjoying picking up these thick paperbacks. Some of the volumes are hard to come by at this point, so hopefully you were able to get your hands on them. Really looking forward to digging in eventually on these. This is apparently a really great era of Batman. And I'm pretty much, trying to collect all of the Batman main series stuff post-crisis that I can at this point. So I'm looking forward to checking this out for the first time whenever that does happen. And last but not least, we got the Conan Chronicles Epic Collection, Blood in His Wake. This, for anybody who might be interested to know, is the first of the Marvel Epic collections of material from the Dark Horse era that wasn't previously collected in the Dark Horse Conan omnibus paperbacks that they were releasing prior to Marvel getting the license. Now, those were thick paperbacks that were Conan omnibus paperbacks that Dark Horse was putting out prior to that point, that I was picking up, that collected almost all of the Dark Horse era stuff. And I think they collected it in oversized library edition type omnibuses as well, like the giant size Conan omnis that they brought out, Dark Horse. But I was late to the party on getting any of those three that they brought out, so I ended up picking up the paperbacks instead. And this was the only stuff that they didn't get around to collecting. And then Marvel got the license. And so I'm really happy to have this stuff. It's specifically the Cullen Bunn Conan the Slayer 12 issues that's in this that wasn't collected in that format. So if you're like me and that was picking up those collections, and you need to pick this Epic collection up. Everything else that they've brought out prior to the Dark Horse stuff through Epics, you already had in that format, so I felt no need to pick up the Epic collections. But they double dip a bit with the Conan the Avenger 20 to 25 stuff for Fred Van Lente in this. But the Conan the Slayer Cullen Bunn written stuff, I'll be checking out for the first time when I do eventually get to reading this Marvel Epic collection. I mean, they've been doing a great job putting all this Conan content out since I don't know how long they'll have the license for, but they're really pumping out all the Conan in all forms, Epic collections, omnibuses. They got him in the Savage Avengers series. He's popping up throughout the Marvel universe all the time now. So yeah, I love Conan as a character. I really enjoy his stuff, and I look forward to checking this out for the first time. I've heard this Cullen Bunn stuff, Conan the Slayer, is also really good. So yeah, so that'll do it. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you for tuning in as always. I hope you enjoyed what you saw here today. Please hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Let a friend know if they're into comics. And if you like what I do here, please hit me up in the comments and let me know. Let's continue this conversation. If there's anything that you wanted to know more about, or if you had any questions about the video or any of the things I discussed here today, please let me know in the comments. I appreciate everybody checking these videos out. And make sure to tune in next month when I do my March haul for 2022. As always, hit that notification bell and you'll be notified of this video and all the other comic content type videos that we do here on the channel, the weekly comic shop talk episodes that I do with my buddy Chris, where we talk about weekly new issue releases. And and then you can always check back for these ones for the collected edition reviews of the things that I pick up month to month. All right. Thanks as always, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.